Man, you better come on. More questions also. If you're still watching, come home for spring, for summer, get my little nephews and everything. Back then, you had people who would take the Jew. After this recording, there is absolutely no way, no how possible, no way possible that you're going to be able to be honest with yourself and still say that the black man and black woman in America today is not the real children of Israel. It's no way possible. We're going to go through a lot of evidence today. Pictorial, historical, testimonial, archaeological, all of that. We're going through that. So, and more. So we're going to look at some things and we're going to ask the question now. Do you believe the Bible? Now, if you don't believe the Bible, you know, and you don't really believe history, then this ain't going to be for you, because we're going to use biblical facts, historical facts. Okay. So, but if you believe in the Bible and you believe in history, then there's no way you're going to honestly be able to say after this class that you can't believe that, you know, the today's black man and woman in America is not the real children of Israel. All right. So there is no way possible. Now, even if you do get to that point, you can't honestly get to that point without raising the eyebrow, because we're gonna present some information here. You're gonna have no choice but to look at it. All right. So if you watch from beginning to end, this may be a little lengthy. You know, this may run an hour, may run 2 hours. But if you really want to know information, if you really want to know truth, you want to know the facts, the time won't matter. You know, we grew up in this microwave society. We want everything to happen like that. Sometimes it takes time, it takes effort. So if you're one of those microwave people, then, you know, this might not be for you either. But if you got the time and the patience to sit and listen and learn and look at some things that not is these, what I'm about to show you, I can 99.9999% guarantee your Christian pastor have not showed you this. How do I know? I grew up in a Christian church. Daddy was a pastor. 30 years. We never had it. We never had this type of teaching. All right. Visited a lot of churches. So you watch it. We about to present some facts. All right. It's going to be in the PowerPoint format. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Forgive me for my if I don't seem too energetic, because I actually did this last night. I did this whole thing last night. And then while I was doing it last night, when I finished, it said it stopped recording halfway through because the computer didn't have space. And now tonight, I'm actually sleepy. I'm actually really tired. But I'm gonna push through this because I think it's important. So forgive my lack of energy, and we're gonna push through it. If you could focus on the information more than my lack of energy, we're gonna be in there. That ain't what I want y'all to see. There it is right there. All right. This is called Proving the Jew. All right. Proving the Jew, the real children of Israel. It's gonna be an interesting lesson. I want you to see something. Let me see if I can close or minimize this over here. All right. I want you to see something. Notice this right here. You see this right here? This is a picture of Hebrews The Jews. That's Jesus Christ right there. These are the two disciples next to him on the mountain. This is if you know about the scriptures, when Christ went up in the mountain, the transfiguration, this is it. This is a picture of that. What, they're black. Now you might say, oh, just because you got a picture, that means they black. Nah, you finna be in for a ride tonight. Look at the pictures, they're black. This is how they used to look. This is the original message. This is the original message that, we used to portray out to the people. These are black people. All right. Let's keep going. Objectives. All right. To display and prove the Jews were and are black. And when I say Jews, I remember say Jews, Israelites, I'm talking about the same group of people. All right. There's 12 different tribes. You have a tribe to call it Jews, but when I say Jews, I'm gonna be encompassing everybody, Israelites, Jews. So if you might hear me say the term different, Israelite or Jews, I'm talking about the same group of people. So to display and prove that the Jews were and are still black, that's one of the objectives. To show fulfilled prophecies that pertain to the real children of Israel. Now, if you say you believe in the Bible, this is what we're gonna get a lot of people right here. If you say you believe in the Bible, you ain't gonna have no choice. It's either you're gonna believe the book that you've been carrying for all of these years, or you're not. One of the two. That's hot or cold. We ain't doing the in between. No lukewarm stuff. All right. Another objective: prove the history fits the American black man and woman as being the real children of Israel, because there's a history in the scriptures. There's prophecy in the scriptures. We're going to see if the prophecy and the history fits us or the people that you see in the land of Israel today. All right. And we're going to go through all of that. How did they even get over there? How did we get over here? The last objective: to explain our responsibility as the children of Israel. Okay. And at the bottom, as you see, the real Jews are black. You see this picture right here? You see Paul? You got Paul right here. He's a black man. But when you look at him on the right side, he's a whole nother color. What happened? How did that happen? We're going to find out. All right. As you see, we have paintings of the Jews that date back as far as the 1700s. Evidence the Russian icons. Now, these paintings, you can actually buy a book called The Russian Icons. This book used to cost like $3,000. I don't know how much it costs now, but they had it very expensive. Why? Because you weren't supposed to see this. The average black man and woman in America don't have $3,000 to spend on a book. Okay. What's the best ways to hide something from a black person? I'm trying to not refrain from using the word nigga, but what's the best way to hide something from a black person? They say put it in a book, right? Well, here's the second best way also. Put it in a book and then make them pay $3,000 for it if they decide to pick up the book. It's a double whammy. But you can find these. These are paintings from the 1700s, how our people painted ourselves. And it's thousands of them. It's a lot of these paintings. All right. These are the paintings that you've never seen before. So when you go on, you Google Jesus Christ or God, you see a bunch of white people pop up. Where do they come from? Because the original pictures look like what I'm showing you right now. It says, why are the Jews depicted as black? As you see over here again, you have the Most High God sitting on the cloud. You got the angels. They're black. You got all the people below. You got Christ right there. They're all black. Here comes Paul again on the right-hand side. He's black. Why are they depicted as black? Because when we look at Israel today, we see who? We see white people. I mean, let's just be real. It's not about being racist here. We're just going to tell the truth. We look at Israel, we see a bunch of white people. But when we look at these ancient paintings, we see black people. What happened? What changed? Look at this picture here. You have a black Jesus Christ with the disciples. This is the transfiguration. They're black on the left side right here, but on the right side, he's white. I'm going to tell you just how sometimes a lot of us, we just hate when you have been taught something all of your life. When you have believed something all your life, you literally hate to change what you believe. You hate to change what you've been taught. You fight it tooth and nail, and sometimes it comes off as you hating yourself. Why do I say that? There's a certain Christian apologist. Now, we can find thousands of these pictures from 1700s, 1600s, 1700s, right? That where the Jews are painted black. There's a certain Christian apologist who's a black man, by the way. He just swears up and down the people in the land, oh, those are the real people, and we're just Gentiles. And he puts himself on a lower level and all this type of stuff. And he said, well, what happened really with these pictures is they have a process. They find these really, really old pictures. And what they do, they take them in, they put them through this process. And what they found out was the pictures were just dirty. He said, he said the pictures were just dirty. So the pictures were dirty, and they put them through this process. And when the pictures are clean, then you see that these are really white people, not black people. I ain't gonna say his name because I don't want to embarrass the brother. Ain't about embarrassing him, but that's what he said and that's what he believes. But I'm gonna be honest with you, that was straight asinine. Okay, listen to this now. The pictures were just dirty. Here's my first problem with that statement. Now, this is somebody who I kind of view as they just hate themselves. They can't stand to believe that they can actually be the real people of the book, and that this actually can be factual. He does everything in his power to disprove that he's actually God's chosen people. Rather be what's called a Gentile. But here's a problem with what he said. Look at the picture. This picture here, there's some problems with his statement. His statement can't be fact. Now, first off, look at the skin of the people on the left side. You clearly see they're black people, right? So their black skin or brown skin, if it was just dirt, why is the dirt only on the skin of the people? Why everything else ain't dirty? Only the skin got dirty. And then when you look over here, when they cleaned the picture, the skin turned white. Only the skin turned white. Now, let's look at something else. Look at this type of image, whatever this is behind Christ. I guess it represents a shine, like it's almost like an X or something. Look at that one. Now look at this one behind the white Christ. It's completely different. Look at this disciple right here on this left side of the picture. He has his right hand extended and he's kind of leaning forward. But look at the disciple on the left side of the picture. His arms are folded and he's standing more upright. Look at this disciple. Yeah, I hope you guys can see my marker, my mouser. This disciple is holding some type of book or something in his hand, like he's recording something. But look at this one over here. He's holding nothing. Look at the mountains they're standing on. What am I showing you? Man, the damn picture has been repainted. It's no process that they put this through and cleaned it. Well, I guess he is kind of right. There is a certain type of process they put it through. And it's called whitewashing. This is exactly what they did. They whitewashed it. Now, here's a book in the Bible. This is one of the books they took out of the Bible because this is information you should not and cannot and won't know. They don't want you knowing this. The book of Maccabees, the 3rd chapter, the 48th verse, before they took this out of the Bible. I have a Bible where it's still inside of my King James Bible. But this is what it says. It says, and now if you know anything about the history of the Maccabees, they were fighting against the Grecians. They were fighting white people. However the Jews looked, whoever the Jews were, they were fighting against white people. We know that factually. We know the people that were fighting were the white people because they were the Grecians, the Greeks. Now listen to what the scripture says. And it was talking about the Greeks. When you go back and read this whole chapter, if you want to, it's talking about the Greeks. And they laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen, the Greeks that they were fighting, had sought to paint the likeness of their image. The heathen was trying to put the likeness of their image inside of the Bible. If you don't know, the book of the law is the Bible. So the heathen had taken hold of our scriptures and they were trying to put themselves in place of our people. They were trying to paint their images in our Bibles. They were trying to steal our history way back. And this was during 300, 330 BC. All right. Look at Christ again. This is him sitting on the throne, holding what I will assume would be the book of life. He's a black man. Look at him on the right side now. Look at the after. All of a sudden, he's white. You mean to tell me they put this through a process? They cleaned the picture. He came out looking like this? Wow, when they cleaned it, even the throne, look at the throne behind the white Christ and the throne behind the black Christ. The cleaning job was so good, they changed the throne. The cleaning job was so good, the garment went from this black looking garment to this blue looking garment, or this red looking garment to this white looking garment. Look at it. The cleaning job was so good. Look at the positions of the feet. They're at different positions. Look at, I mean, I can point out a million things in this picture. So there's no process. It really disappointed me to a great degree to why this brother would even say something so foolish. But the only thing that it is simply what? It's called whitewashing. Here's the next picture. Classic case. This is a classic case of whitewashing. All right, if you see that, that is a classic case of whitewashing. Now, to a lot of us in the Hebrew community, the Hebrew community, those who have awakened to the truth, we know about this. So this is going to be basic information. But for those of you who don't know, who have never seen this, this is going to be eye-opening information. As you see in the back right here, you got a black Christ. And what is this artist doing, this white guy? What's he doing? He's repainting him what? White. A classic case of whitewashing. Our identity has been stolen. All right, let's keep going. It's going to get good. All right. African kings, who we know to be called what? Pharaohs. African kings. Look at this. Look at this. This is off the wall. This is called a hieroglyph. So this is a hieroglyph, but look at this guy. Look at this guy. This guy he's dark as he can be. This is a black man. Now, I know because I had conversation with certain people that they don't really know a lot about Egyptian history and ancient history and things of that nature, antiquity. And so I know certain people didn't know that the hieroglyphs were in different colors. They think they just had one color. But here's a hieroglyph right here, and it clearly shows a blue, a yellow, or gold looking color. You got the white of his eyes. You have the black for the eyebrow and the apple of his eye. So they had different colors, but yet and still they chose to paint themselves as what? To portray who? Black people. So we can look at the history, the historical records of ancient Egypt, and we see that they told us they were what? Black people. Not only that, I mean, it's all type of different artifacts that we could prove this with. But now let's look at some of the statues of these African kings right here on the left. All right, look at these different statues. The first one we look at is Narmer. That's Narmer, the first dynasty. This is the very first king of Egypt. A quick interesting fact and a side note to everything is Narmer was the first king of Egypt who united what was called Upper and Lower Egypt into one nation called Egypt. All right, because before then it was Upper and Lower Egypt. So Narmer comes over out of Mesopotamia. He comes over, he conquers. There's something called the Narmer palette. All right, there's something called the Narmer palette. And on the Narmer palette, it tells the entire story of how King Narmer came over from Mesopotamia, united Egypt, and gave them this great civilization, what we talk about today. Now, a lot of Kemetic brothers who follow Egyptian, customs, they will say, well, show us one character in the Bible. Your Bible's not real. Show us one character. But what they fail to realize is their own history testifies against what they're saying and testifies for the characters in the Bible. Because when you read Narmer and you say this in Hebrew, Narmer is actually Nimrod from Mesopotamia. So the characters that they're denying is literally the first king of Egypt. One of our characters out of the Bible is literally their first king over in Egypt. Interesting side note. But other than that, let's keep moving forward. Look at all these African kings. What do they have in common? Other than the fact that their nose have been shot off, why are they shooting the nose off? Why are they shooting the nose off? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with the nose? Why they shot the nose off? Well, if you look at the other ones, what they weren't able to get to, look at their nose. Look at Narmer's nose. Ain't no white boy walking around with a nose like that. These are clearly black men. These are what we know as black men. And this was an attempt to cover history by shooting off the nose, because that nose distinguishes what? Black individuals. Like I said, it's not a race thing, anybody ain't racist, but we're telling the truth tonight. We know our white counterparts over there, they don't have pointy nose. They have pointy noses. They don't have noses like we have. Therefore, in an effort to help steal the history, we must destroy the statues by defacing them, break the nose off. Therefore, they don't know who this is or what race of people this is. But see, it's too much history. You couldn't get to all the statues. You couldn't get to all the hieroglyphics. It's too much. Why am I even talking about the Africans and proving the fact that they're black if this is about proving the Jew? What point am I bringing at? What point does it prove that the Africans are black? Okay, we all can know the Africans and the Egyptians, they are black. We know this for a fact, right? That's easy. Everybody knows that. But why am I bringing that up? Because remember, all right, we was asking the question earlier. Look at these hieroglyphics right here. Different colors. Got a dark brother, and you have a lighter sister right here. But what are they painted as? They're painted as what? Black people. Look on the right side. These are black people. If this is the Egyptians. Now they got the color, they got white paint here. If they wanted to paint themselves white, if they were white, they would have painted themselves white. But this is the history, the historical facts right here. 1 second. So these are the historical facts. These are black people. And again, why am I keep talking about Egypt and Egyptians and proving that they're black if we're talking about proving the Jew? Like I said earlier, we're gonna find out. Do you really believe the Bible? Most people don't. Carry that book every day, all day, swear they believe it. But when it comes down to something that goes against what they believe or they like or they understand, all of a sudden they start questioning everything, and you will see right then and there they don't believe the Bible the way they say they do. Statues of Egyptians, black people. These statues. Look at what the Egyptians did, man. These statues are thousands of years old. The ancient Egyptians were black people. This is a no-brainer. It's more than easy to find out the Egyptians were black. No, you go to Hollywood, look at the movies. We see these white people in movies. If you just stop and ask yourself, if it's an Asian movie, some karate movie, who's starring in it? It's going to be a white guy. If it's a Egyptian movie, it's going to be the white guys that star in it. If it's an American movie, it's going to be the white guy. If you look at every culture, why is it always the white person starring in it? We know the white person ain't the Chinese, but yet he's the karate master over there. We know a white person ain't the Egyptian, but yet he's in all of Moses movies, let my people go. They're always in everybody else's culture. It's always them. But when we can look at the history and clearly see, listen, these were black people. Again, why am I saying that? Do you believe the Bible? That's the question. We're going to see. We just proved that the Egyptians were black. We just showed y'all a lot of their history. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Israelites. Let's talk about the Jews. Acts 21:37 through 38. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Are not thou that Egyptian? So the chief captain, and Paul said, hey, homeboy, let me holler at you real quick. Let me talk to you real quick. The chief captain looked at Paul like, bro, you can speak Greek? I thought you was an Egyptian. But if Paul was a white boy that we look at like the guys overseas in Israel right now, if he looked like that, why would this man think that Paul was an Egyptian? So we just showed you what the Egyptians looked. The ancient Egyptians were black people. Why would he think Paul was an Egyptian? But we know Paul was an Israelite. He was a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin. Romans 11:1. This is Paul speaking. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul was an Israelite, but yet he was mistaken for an Egyptian. And we have just shown you the Egyptians were black as night. First clue. The book of Job, 30 and 30. My skin is black upon me. Again, Those who have awakened to the facts of what's really going on, this is basic knowledge for us. But again, those who this is your first time coming across this, maybe you've never read it before, this is going to be eye-opening information. All right. If you're reading your King James Bible, now mind you, I'll go ahead and say this real quick. You get those new versions, NIV, ESV, this and that. They're going to change the verbiage. They're going to change the wording and make it say something else. Why? Because you're not supposed to have this information. You're not supposed to be waking up to the truth right now. But it's going to be so many facts in this presentation, this class, that it's going to be undeniable. Job 30:30. My skin is black upon me. This is how Job would have looked. I'm not talking about the features. I'm talking about the skin complexion. He said, my skin is black upon me and my bones burnt with heat. That don't sound like a description of a Caucasian male. Song of Solomon 1:5. Solomon, King Solomon, the son of King David, what did he say? He said, I am black, but comely. Now, if you know what comely means, handsome or beautiful. That whole saying, I'm black and beautiful. This is where that comes from. I am black, but comely. Then he goes on to tell you just how black he is by giving you a description of how black he was. I am black, but comely, O you daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar. If you look at this is a tent of Kedar. Look how black this thing is. Solomon says, I'm this black. See, because contrary to popular belief, back in the day, before we went through all this brainwashing and slavery and everything else, it was a beautiful thing to be black. We love the way we look. All this brainwashing to make you think you're less of, you're less than because you're dark. Everybody want to be light skinned or white. That wasn't like that back in the day. People bragged on how beautiful they were when they were dark. And here's a king, the son of King David, the reigning king of Israel himself at the time. King Solomon says, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar. So he's telling you he's so black, he gave you the example of how black he was. And it's right here, the tent of Kedar. Again, we are going to find out if you believe the Bible. This is out of the King James Version, Song of Solomon 1:5. Now, if you look this word up in Hebrew, because we know that the text was translated from Hebrew, right? If you look it up in Hebrew, it is the word for black is shakor. He said, I am shakor. And the definition to that word means black. And it says jetty black, which means jet black. In other words, Solomon said, I'm black as hell and I'm beautiful. Jet black. Let's keep going. Revelation 1:15. Now, most people are familiar with this. And his, which the his is Christ, his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. This is fine brass right here. After being burned in a furnace, this is a dark color. This is the description that they were given to the color of Christ's feet. Sure, his feet was the same color as his hands and as his legs. White, but she thinks he's darker. Maybe how we see the Arabs today, but a lot darker than the white people that we see in Israel. But yet she believed the white people in Israel are the real Jews. So I guess he just came out looking differently. I guess I don't know. That don't even make sense. He was a Jew. Jesus Christ himself is a Jew, but you don't think he looks nothing like those people over there. But yet you're going to continue to say those anyway. Enough of that madness. Let's keep going, because at the end of this, like right now, we're going through some basic information. But by the time we get to the end of this, hang tight, hang in there. You're going to see where we're coming from. All right, let's Lamentations. This is the book of Lamentations in your Bible. Lamentations 4:8. It says their visage, their face, visage means face, is blacker than coal. Blacker than coal. So I gotta keep asking this question. I gotta keep beating this dead horse. Do you really believe the Bible? This is the book of Lamentations. It's talking about the Jews. Go and read the entire chapter if you want to. I'm just pointing out the main points. It's talking about the Jews here. It says their visage. Look up the word visage to see what it means. If you don't believe it means face. Their visage is blacker than coal. Look at the land of Israel right now and tell me those people, their visage is blacker than coal. Do you believe what the Bible says? The book of Numbers, the 12th chapter, the 10th verse. This is talking about Miriam, the sister of Moses. It says, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became, not was born this way, but she became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. If you know the background of this story, Miriam was mumbling and talking against Moses, the man of the Most High God. The Most High God got extremely upset and cursed her with leprosy. And what happens when you get leprosy? You lose all your melanin. All your melanin is gone. All of it is gone. And you look leprous. You look white as snow. The point I'm pointing out is Miriam became white. You ever seen a white person become white? So Miriam was a Jew or Israelite. She should have, according to what we see today, she should have already been white. How did she become white? You continue to read the story. They prayed for Miriam, and after 7 days, her color returned. The Most High healed her. But the point I'm pointing out is she became white. White people do not become white. They're already white. They don't become white. Do you believe the Bible? The book of Jeremiah, the 14th chapter, the 2nd verse. Judah mourneth. Now you say, who is Judah? The tribe of Judah. That's where the Jews descend from, out of the tribe of Judah. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is going up. It says they are black. They are black. Judah, they are black. So what's the point? Why does color matter? Why does color matter? So I used to work as a police officer. You know, anybody who's ever worked as a police officer. Matter of fact, you never work as a police officer, you be a security guard. It don't matter what you're doing. You could just be around the neighborhood. It don't even matter. But if I get a call, hey, somebody did this and they went that way. In order for me to find out and solve what's going on, what must I get first? The first thing I'm going to say is, hey, how did they look? So if there's a crime that took place, I need to find out the suspect's description. I need to know how he looked. How does this guy look? So what we're telling you right now, there has been a crime. It's called identity theft. So we need to know how the people involved look. That's why it matters. And if you say it don't matter, then that's mean that you're also saying you really don't believe the Bible and parts of God's word does not matter, because what we're reading is in the book. So if he thought enough to have it placed inside the book, then guess what? It matters. It matters. If it's in the book, if it's in the Bible, then it matters. And the color didn't matter. Two things. It wouldn't be in the book, for one. And two, they wouldn't change Christ's color from black to white. If it didn't matter, why not just leave him black? If it didn't matter, it's plain and clear. This is plain and clear. This is easy. Again, this is why I say I'm going to keep asking you, do you really believe the Bible? Because a lot of people say they believe the Bible until something comes to contradict, something out of the Bible comes and contradicts what they actually believe in. All of a sudden, they don't believe the Bible no more. So do you really believe the Bible? Because the Bible right now is telling you that the Jews are black. So if the Jews are black, then something's wrong. There's some imposters somewhere. How did we get here? How did they get there? What happened? We're going to get into that. What has history recorded concerning the real Jews? So for y'all who really don't believe the Bible, we're going to look at some history. If you don't believe scriptures, let's see. Do you believe history at least? Who is this guy sitting right here, the statue? It's a fellow by the name of Cornelius Tacitus. Cornelius Tacitus. Cornelius Tacitus on the Jews. He was born approximately 56 AD. If you know anything about timelines, this is during the generation of Jesus Christ himself. This man lived at the generation of Jesus Christ himself. Who was he? He was a Roman historian and also a Roman senator. He was a senator and a historian. He also himself was a white man. Why is that important? Because what I'm about to start showing you is it's not a bunch of black people waking up one day in the 60s because we're going through oppression and searching for identity. So we just latched on to something and start claiming it. I'm finna show you white man after white man after white man and historian and scholar and polemicist and textual critic after textual critic after historian after scholars. I'm gonna show you all of these resources, and they're all gonna be white men. And guess what? They're all saying? They're all saying the Jews are black. So if they're gonna all say it, that lame excuse for someone to say, "Hey, man, y'all just latching on to an identity because of your oppression or things that you're going through," that goes out the window. We're gonna show you this was said well before we were born. This was said from men who don't look like us, but yet they look like the men over in Israel. I'm also going to show you the men in Israel telling you the same thing I'm telling you right now. Hang tight, it's coming. Cornelius Tacitus on the Jews. He was born approximately 56 AD. This is during the generation of Christ himself, the time that Christ walked the earth. And Christ was a Jew. Keep that in mind. Christ was a Jew. He said, some say the Jews were fugitives from the island of Crete who settled on the nearest coast of Africa. But about the time when Saturn was driven from the throne by the power of Jupiter. Evidence of this sought his name. Evidence of this sought in the name. Thus is a famous mountain in Crete called Ida. The neighboring tribe Idea came to be called Judea by a barbarous lengthening of the national name. Others assert that in the reign of Isis, the overflowing population of Egypt, led by heteropolymers and Judas, discharged itself into the neighboring countries. Catch this part. This is really what I want to point out. I want to get to the point. Many again say that he's referring to the Jews, that they were a race of the Ethiopian origin. Tacitus, a Roman historian and a Roman senator, said the Jews were believed to be a race of the Ethiopians. Why? Why would he say that? Because the Jews were black. What does Ethiopian mean? Merriam-Webster definition for Ethiopian: a native or inhabitant of Ethiopia, a member of any of the mythical or actual people usually described by the ancient Greeks as dark-skinned. Number 3, archaic, a black person. This is what Merriam-Webster defined Ethiopian as. All right. Tacitus, a very, very credible source, a Roman historian, a Roman senator, a white man himself, said the Jews were so dark, they believed they came from the Ethiopians. So how did they become white today? That's the question. All right. Author Talmadge Abernathy. I'm messing his name up. Who is he? He is a journalist, a scholar, a theologian, a poet. He has accolades. So some would say he's learned. He's well learned. He is a journalist, a scholar, a theologian, and a poet. He pastored several churches, contributed articles and poems to newspapers around the United States, and was named by Governor R. Greg Cherry as the first North Carolina poet, whatever that word is right there, laureate, in 1948. All right. He wrote a book called The Jew, a Negro. First off, look at the title itself. It's written by a white man. So it's not us claiming, to be the real Jews. He writes a book called The Jew, a Negro. The Jew, a Negro. And in the book, he says this: it would be better to say that the Negro descended from the ancient Jewish type or Mediterranean race. It is hardly correct ethically to reverse the sentence. point. What are we pointing out? He clearly says in his book, the Negro descended from the ancient Jewish type. Hmm. Goes on to say, or Mediterranean race. What does that mean? If you know anything about geographical locations and the history and the lineage of Israel, Abraham was from where? The Mediterranean. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's get some more history. All right. Benedict D. Spinoza. And listen, if I can't pronounce names, y'all forgive me, because all these old English and really old names is hard to pronounce, but there are points in here that we can read well enough to point out. Because if you don't believe scripture, we're going to prove it with history as well. Benedict D. Spinoza. He was born in 1632, died in 1677. He was a Dutch philosopher. Baruch Spinoza was a Dutch philosopher of Portuguese Sephardi origin, one of the early thinkers of the Enlightenment in modern biblical criticism. He was a textual critic, including modern. I guess biblical criticism might not mean textual critic, so let me correct that. Including modern conceptions of self and the universe. He came to be considered one of the great rationalists of the 17th century philosophy. All right. So this individual sounds like he was, I guess, well studied as well. Let's see what he had to say. This is what he wrote. He was of a middle size. He had good features in his face. The skin somewhat black. Keep that in mind. The skin somewhat black. Black curled hair, long brown eyelashes. It says long eyebrows, I'm sorry. And of the same color, so that one might easily know by his looks that he was a descendant from Portuguese Jews. So he describes in his paper right here, this thing, his introduction, he's talking about a particular individual, describes a black man, skin somewhat black. Now, there's no somewhat black white men. Let's be honest now. There's no somewhat black white men around here. Skin somewhat black, black curled hair. He has curly hair, long eyebrows. And then he says he is a descendant of the Portuguese Jews. Jews. So if you ain't believe the scriptures we was pointing out when it said the Jews were black people, I'm giving you historical documents and facts right now of what everybody believed the Jews looked like, and is the record of what the Jews look like. All right. Samuel Colcourt Bartlett, the Reverend Samuel Colcourt Bartlett, born in 1925. Born in November 25th, 1817. And he died November 16th, 1898. He was the president of Dartmouth College from 1877 to 1892. He graduated from Dartmouth with the class of 1836. All right. It says, let's see what he wrote. He says, in regard to the human race, it has been shown abundantly and historically that each of the external differences often ceases to be characteristic. Thus, the black color is found not only in individuals as the black Jews of Portugal. All right. Did you just catch that? What does this white individual, white male, I say it's not about race, but when people love to say, hey, well, y'all just trying to latch on to, a heritage. Y'all trying to latch on to some history because of your oppression, what you've gone through. Here's a man who was back in the 1800s, and he's describing the Jews as what? Thus, the black color is found not only in individuals as the black Jews of Portugal. He just described the Jews of Portugal, those Jews who migrated to Portugal, as what? Black. How many examples we got to see to start nailing this home? How many examples? Let's get another one. All right. This is TUDOR, PARFITT. He wrote a book called Black Jews in Africa and the Americas. Now, if you know anything about this guy, you can look him up. This guy travels. He's like a historian or researcher. He's a really big researcher, and he travels all through the Americas, all through Africa, Middle East. He's everywhere. He's a researcher, right? I'm gonna make this screen bigger so we can see what he said. Let's get this on the screen real quick. Hold on. All right. So if we can see this in his book, this is something he said. The 13th century polemicist text of R. Yosef ben Nathan Ofstel sought to rebut Christians' charges that Jews were dark and unattractive. Why? The text reads, "Are the majority of the Gentiles white and attractive, while the majority of the Jews are black and unattractive?" Skip down. I'm just going straight to the points. The idea that the Jews were black persisted into the 19th century. So the ideas that the Jews were black persisted into the 19th century. So what are we saying? What are we saying here? We didn't make up the whole idea that the Jews were black. We're just waking up to the facts of who we are. Again, we didn't make up the idea that the Jews were black. We're just waking up to the facts of who we are. And a lot of people who don't want to hear something that they've never heard before, who want to stay in the same same mindset they've always been in, who don't have any love for themselves, but subconsciously have a very, very, very big hatred of self. They don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear this. We've been showing you scripture thus far. Now we're showing you authors and theologians and scholars all saying what? The Jews are black. And these authors and theologians and scholars, we're going as far back as the 1600s to show you they've been saying this for a long, long time. All right. Job 15:6. It says, "Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Thy own lips testify against thee." We ain't saying this. This whole presentation, what I'm showing you right now. Now I have plenty of sources I can pull of brothers proving the point. That's not a problem. We can easily prove the point. But I want out again for the umpteenth time. I want to show you that white men said this, because for some odd reason our people don't believe stuff unless white people say it. Y'all might be like, "Oh, you're racist." I ain't racist. I'm being honest. Our people won't believe us. So therefore, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all excuses about being biased out of it. So therefore, I'll go to individuals of, white men and let them say it. And they said, and find sources as far as up to modern day, like the one we just saw, and find sources as far back as the 1600s. And we just saw those, right? Right. Now, I'm going to show you something else. Because since we don't like to really believe a lot of things, let's see how far this knowledge has gotten us. Let's see how far it is spread. Because we can look overseas. People know who we are. We can go certain parts of the country. Other people know who we are. We're the only people who have no clue who we are as a people. I want to show you something. I know I said this was a no chime in and don't respond until we get to the end, but let me know if y'all are able to see this video I'm about to put on the screen. All right, I'm about to put a video on the screen. I want to know if y'all are able to see it. Can y'all see that?
I can see the black man is the Jew.
Anybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. So here we go. Check this video out. I'm about to hit play. It's about 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes long. But listen carefully. There's going to be some accents in this video, like I said, because it's going to be people from overseas and everything. So you got to listen carefully. When this recording is done, go back, rewind it. If you had a hard time understanding, but listen to what they are saying. There's going to be some real condemning evidence in here for the people who are currently in the land of Israel.
And I'm not saying biblical beast. I'm just talking about the big old beast. To me, is Catholicism. And then out of that Catholicism, you have Christianity. Out of that Catholicism, you have all these other, Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. And all of these religions have worked at least together unknowingly for one purpose, and that is to cover up the truth.
Interesting.
And the truth of the fact is that our black brothers and sisters are the remnants or our descendants of Judah, where Yeshua HaMashiach or Jesus Christ himself came from.
Right.
Another area in Africa you have something big happening is in Nigeria. You have the Igbo people, or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them, also Christians, like I spoke about before, how that could happen to the children of Israel very easily. But also a lot of them are now coming out and converting back or adopting the rules of the Torah without all the paganism that they've been practicing for hundreds of years. There's been books written about it from scholars in Nigeria, from scholars from the Jewish people. And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. So what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on.
For Gaza.
What is it?
Against the Prime Minister of Israel. We are for Gaza.
You're for Gaza, the Gaza Strip?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We are against the state of Israel. No.
Are you said you're for Gaza?
Yes, we are against the state of Israel.
You're against the state of Israel?
Yes, we believe, the Jewish belief is against the state of Israel.
Are you for the real return of the real children of Israel?
We believe that all Israel needs to be returned to the Palestinians.
Do you know that the black man in America is Israel? That he's Jews? Do you know that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hi, shalom, shalom from Israel. This is Ola, the daughter of Jethro. And I just heard that you black people that was stolen from Africa to America, that you don't know who you are, but you are the children of Yahweh, the children of Israel. And I'm telling you, you have to come back to your homeland, here to Zion, to Jerusalem, because us the Gentiles, we do need you. We need you to come and pray because you are our saviors. You're the one that was chosen by Yahweh to live in this land, not the Jewish people, it's you. You were stolen from Africa, they deceived you, they told you that you are slaves, but you actually the children of Israel. And it's time just to come back. Come for your people, come back for us, come back for the whole Gentiles, because only you gonna save us. So please come back to that.
Let me just reveal some things. First of all, is that the Jews who are brought in Israel, most of them are white. Not most of them, almost all of them are white, including me. I was brought in Israel from a country which is called Bulgaria. It's a European country. And I can tell you that in every European country, there are Jews, and there is so-called organization, Jewish Agency, which is trying to take those Jews to Israel. If you track this organization, you can find out that this is not an Israeli organization. This is an American organization. Jewish Agency is an American organization which has the exclusive right to decide who is Jewish and who is not on this planet, and who to be taken to Israel and who's not. Now, if you do research, you will find out that in Africa, in Black Africa, they're looking for Jews only in Ethiopia. They bring Jews only from Ethiopia. And I can tell you by knowing a lot of people, Ethiopian Jews here in Israel, that they're treated very badly, very badly. And many of them commit suicide because they cannot take it. So they come from some place, Ethiopia, they don't have much there, but they live decent life. And when they come here and try to be humiliated and so on, some of them cannot even take it. Now, what I'm trying to say is that why from each white country this Jewish agency is trying to bring Jews, and when it's about Black Africa, they're going to Ethiopia, and this is where they stop. The only one place. Now, because of the same thing, they're trying to do the white supremacy here. They try to bring white guys here and to take the supremacy over Arabs, which are the local citizens, and over blacks, which are so far they're only the Ethiopian Jews. Now, what I'm trying also to say is that another question is why America needs Israel. There is no oil like in other Middle Eastern countries. There's nothing they can be attracted to. But why do they do all these things? Why do they invest money, bring white people and so on? When they build their system of white supremacy, just like in America, they build in Israel. Why? And I can tell you why. Because the true Jews, according to the Bible, you can check it in the Bible, you can read Job 30 and some other places. They have never been white. They have been people of color. And they have not stopped in Ethiopia. They were in Ethiopia, Sudan, and they have settled in West Africa. From West Africa, they have been taken as slaves to America. Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible. America gonna do everything, gonna invest as much money as it has, gonna fight as much wars as they can, gonna invite as much weapons as they can just to hide this away from you. Gonna take Israel, gonna bring white people here and to tell you these are the Jews, gonna kill you, gonna kill Arabs, gonna mistreat white people like this guy just to tell you this lie. That you are nobody and we are the Jews with all the history and so on. It has been deleted, your history. You don't know who you are. Don't forget about it. This is why America has been taking your history away, never to find out that it's all about you. I'm telling you this, please. I don't ask you to come to Israel and to start a revolution. I'm just asking you to start thinking this way, to believe me a little bit. Because I'm living in Israel and I'm part of this injustice. I really believe that people like me and you, we can bring the justice back. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Even mummies. You know the movie which is called Mummies and Mummy Returns?
Oh yeah, the Hollywood, yeah.
And it's fake. Or a movie called Perfumes. Mm-hmm. It's a fake.
Yeah. So they tried to do the divide and conquer during the revolution over here.
Yes.
We didn't know that.
You don't know that, but because we live here, so we know.
Exactly. But that's the type of stuff I like to go back and let our people know. Let them know what really happened.
We said to the people, don't listen to the media. If you want to do something, okay, so touch the reality by yourself. You have to come. And you're already here.
Yeah.
And of course you deal with Egyptian people.
Yeah.
How did you find them?
Exactly.
Very decent and friendly.
Exactly. In fact, I'm doing some research on President Nasser.
Nasser,
yeah. Doing some research on him, and I'm also trying to do some research on Anwar Sadat as well.
Sadat, the war guy.
Yeah.
He's a war man.
Yeah.
The war. Yeah, Sadat.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out some more because even Nasser, he went and I think in 1952, he said, well, we don't believe. He said those Jews can't live in peace because we don't trust them because the real Jews left black and came back white. So he's like,
how?
Yeah, he said we don't trust y'all because y'all aren't the real ones.
Yeah. That's why he pissed him off.
Yeah.
Because by this time almost of the Jewish people speak that those were white.
Exactly.
How could we change your skin?
Yeah, exactly. All of them.
Yeah, the original one, they are black and we know them.
Yeah.
We know them from thousands of years. How you change it and you turn to white, what do you do?
Exactly.
And it's not one person or two person.
Exactly.
It's a punch or a whole punch.
Oh, some new people, like from nowhere.
From where you come?
Exactly.
Who you are? You're Jewish? No.
No.
It looks like what? It looks like you are black and black.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to our white.
Yeah.
And knock the door and they're like, oh, hi, honey. Who are you? If your skin turned to white, she would say, this is the same way she would say like that.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Hi, my husband is black.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you?
Who are you? Yeah.
All right. Now, thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yet thine own lips testify against thee. We have people all around the world. I just showed you evidence of a Jewish rabbi in Israel teaching that we are the real Jews. You saw a Jewish man walking down the street saying that we the real Jews. The last guy that you just saw in that video, he was an Egyptian. They were over in Egypt. And did you hear what he said? He said, how your skin become white? He said, we know the real Israelites. We know them for thousands of years ago. How does he know that? Because remember, Israel was enslaved in Egypt. So they know what we look like. Their history still has us, what the black people on the walls over there still enslaved as far as the records showing that we were enslaved in Egypt. So he's saying, man, how did you change your skin? But the good point, he made a good point at the end. He said, you black. You show up at your house, knock on your door, your wife open the door, and all of a sudden you white. She gonna be like, who are you? My husband's black. The point he was making is, who are these people? You left black and now you're white all of a sudden. So we've showed you scriptures clearly said what? The Jews were black, the Israelites were black. All right. We just showed you theologians and scholars and historians all saying what? From modern day, as far back as 56 AD. They were all saying what? The Jews are black. So if you don't want to believe the scriptures, are you going to believe the history? Are you going to believe the scholars? Are you going to believe the theologians, the authors? Are you going to believe somebody, something? Or are you just going to stay in denial? Like, nah, y'all just searching for an identity. Just showed you a video. The rabbis are saying it. The Jewish people are saying it. The Egyptians are saying it. The Palestinian woman, she's like, I just found out y'all didn't know who y'all were. Y'all don't lost your identity. Y'all don't know this. Everybody knows this. Y'all don't know this. Why don't we know it? Because it's been hidden from us. It's been hidden from us. Let's keep moving forward. Now, listen, there's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. Ignorance, we were all ignorant. I was ignorant. We were all ignorant. Ignorance is you just didn't know. I was ignorant. I didn't know. Stupidity is when you find out the truth, when you see the evidence, when you see the facts, but you still choose to believe a lie. You have become stupid. Now you're just dumb. What does the scripture say about the real children of Israel? Again, I'm asking this question yet again. Do you believe the Bible? Let's see what the Bible says. Here I have a picture. I just want to throw this in there. This is the lineage. You got Abraham, you got Isaac. And if you're wondering who that lovely young lady is right there, that's Rebecca. You got Abraham, you got Isaac. This is Jacob. That's Moses. And then we have Yahweh, which is Christ, who the world calls Jesus Christ. All right. So for you brothers who say, yeah, I know that's not the direct lineage, but those are the prominent men I want to point out. Timeline of Israel. So what happened? How did we get here and they got there? How did we get over here and supposedly they got over there and magically turned white? What happened? The timeline. A very basic timeline. All right. A nation was born within Egypt. The nation of Israel was born within Egypt. If you don't know the scriptures, Jacob took his 12 sons and family down into Egypt, grew into a large nation, and Egypt enslaved us. That's what happened. That was the birth of our nation. After that, Moses came. Most High sent Moses. He delivered us out of Egypt, gave us a law. God gave us his law, told us to keep it. If we keep it, we got benefits and we have consequences if we didn't keep it. All right. After that, we inherited the land of Israel. After we got the law, we went into the land of Israel. After that, we continue to break God's laws. Remember, if we keep the laws, He's going to give us good promises. If we break them, there were consequences. But we kept breaking God's laws while we were living in the land. And finally, 70 AD, if you don't want to believe the scriptures, go look it up in your local library. All of the tribes were finally out of the land. Last ones being Judah. They were moved out of the land. Why? Because they kept breaking God's laws. That's what happened. That is it in the basic, in a nutshell. That's it. Now, let's go through it a little bit. Exodus 24, 3 through 8. It says, we signed a blood covenant. We signed a blood covenant. All right. This is a blood covenant. All right. It says, and Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And the people answered with one voice. The people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord said, we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and the other half he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said will we do and be obedient. This is a contract. They are entering into an agreement with the Most High God. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant, which the Lord hath made with you concerning these words. A covenant is a contract. The Most High God gave words to Moses. Moses said, hey, Israel, this is what the Most High God said he wants. Do you agree? All the children of Israel said, hey, yeah, we agree. He said he's going to make us kings and he's going to do all this good stuff for us. Yeah, we got it. Nobody thought about the curses, just in case we start breaking it, right? So they said, yeah, we'll take that. So Moses said, okay. He signed the deal in blood. This is a blood covenant, or should I say a blood contract. So that's the start of it. That's part of our history. All right. So now out of that contract, we have what's called promises and then curses. All right. Now in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses is going to address what the promises of the contract is and what the curses of the contract is. All right. Let's go over those real quick. Deuteronomy 1:1. These be the words which Moses spake to who? Israel. Just so we can understand who this is talking to. Because you got some Christian apologists like swear he's talking to the whole world, or he's talking to the Chinese or the Russians. No, this is concerning only Israel, us, our people. All right, these are the terms of the contract. All right, so we're going to start at Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 2. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, which means if you shall listen to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do his commandments. So it's going to come to pass if you do what I'm telling you and keep my commandments, which I command thee this day, the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations. So that's one promise. If you listen to me, I'm going to put you above all nations. You're going to be balling, right? And all the blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. So all these blessings are going to overtake you. You're going to be extremely blessed if, you notice there's a stipulation, if you listen to the Lord thy God. So this is only going to happen if you listen. And we already know the history. Israel never listened. These were the promises that were supposed to come upon us. Matter of fact, these were some of the promises. I just picked out a few. These are some of the promises that was supposed to come upon us. Deuteronomy 28, verse 3. The Most High says, you will be blessed in the city and blessed in the field. So no matter where you at, you're going to have a blessing. Verse 7 says, your enemies won't be able to stand against you. Your enemies come on. Right, another nation roll up on Israel. We was going to shut them down. We're going to knock all that loose. Hey, get out of here. That's what the Most High promised us. Nobody could invade us. Nobody can knock us off. We're going to be the big dogs. We're at the top of the mountain and nobody can take it. That was the promise. If we listen to the Most High God. Verse 9 says, you should be a holy people of God. We were going to be his chosen people. We're going to be the people. It's us, nobody else. Verse 10, it says, all people will fear you. You'll have other nations like, man, invade who? Invade? Nah, I'm good. I ain't going over there. You seen what they did to the other nation? Nah, we not doing that. We ain't going in there acting silly. Verse 12, it says, you will be a wealthy people. You will lend and never borrow. We were supposed to be the most wealthy people. We would give out loans. We never had to ask for loans. It was like this for a slight period now. We ain't have to borrow from no other nations. We ain't have to borrow from nothing. Like today, we got to run around and borrow everything because we have nothing. It wasn't always like that. So these were the promises. Hey, as long as you listen to me, I'm going to make sure y'all flourish. You ain't got to worry about nothing. Ain't nobody going to mess with you. You're going to have money in your pocket. You're going to be able to do what you want to do. Y'all going to be very prosperous as long as you keep my laws, keep my commandments. But on the flip side, if you don't keep my commandments, there's what you have. There's what we call curses. Now, there's something particular about these curses because these curses actually outline Black history as we know it. It's crazy, right? These curses actually outline Black history as we know it. It says, as we who have come into the truth and have chosen to acknowledge the facts of our reality, there is a lie that is bigger than any other lie on the planet. And that is the Black man and Black woman are actually the real children of Israel. We have been deceived. They've been lying to us. The truth is we the real children of Israel. We've been deceived. Revelation 12:9, and the great dragon was cut out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the entire world. He deceiveth the whole world. The whole world has been deceived at this point. It's a lot of information that has gone right past our heads. We're going to find out today, though. Question, did this happen? Did this happen? Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and obey his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, all these curses shall come upon thee. Now, the Most High says through Moses, listen, if you don't hearken, which means listen to the voice of God to keep his commandments, like you said you would, because you entered into that blood contract, you said you was going to do so. Now, I told you what I was going to do if you do so, but if you don't do so, he says all these curses going to come upon you. Any contract you sign today, I don't care if it's T-Mobile or AT&T. As long as you pay your bill, guess what happens? Well, if you pay your bill, you're going to have a phone, you're going to have service, you know what I'm saying? We won't cut you off. Don't pay your bill. Heck, on the other side of that contract, we're going to cut you off. We want our phone back. You don't give it back. We're reporting you to the credit agencies. We're going to put it on your tab. We're going to be calling you 24/7 because we want that money. We're going to mess up your credit. That's common sense. No matter how you look at it, it's a good and a bad to both sides. People look like, so would God really curse people? Listen, we're talking about a God. Because, see, Christianity has invented this imaginary, fictitious being they call God. And all he wants to do is just love everybody. Now, I'm not saying God is not love. God is abundantly love. I have a great deal of love. But just like he has a great deal of love, there's a great deal of judgment and wrath as well. Proverbs 11:2 says, a false balance is an abomination. There can't be a front without a back. It can't be an up without a down. There's no left without a right. There's no in without an out. There's no hot without a cold. There's no light without a dark. A false balance is an abomination. It has to be balanced. So to believe, oh, God's only love, there's nothing else but there. He has no hatred, no judgment, no anger in him whatsoever. We're finna find out. We're finna find out. We're talking about the same God. Remember, we're talking about the same God who killed everybody on the planet except for 8 people. Noah and his family. Everybody else dead. He killed everybody on the planet. That's if you believe the Bible. I don't know. We're gonna find out tonight if you really believe the Bible. If you do believe the Bible, then you know that in the flood that the Most High God killed millions of people. He drowned them. That's a horrible way to die, actually. He drowned them. He drowned them. Mind you, there were men, there were women, there were children, there were babies. They all drowned. This is the same God when he was bringing Israel out of Egypt. In the book of Numbers, he told Israel, go into that land, kill every man, kill every woman, every boy, every girl, kill everybody. Matter of fact, kill the cattle, kill everything. So for you to think that the Most High God doesn't have a wrath, oh, he's just love, he just wants to love me, that's the lie that Christianity has given you, and they have taken the fear of the Most High God out of you, which is why we think we just can run around and live any type of life and ain't nothing gonna happen. And then when we start going through all types of hell in our life, we don't know, have no clue why, because you've been brainwashed by Christianity. But we're gonna see it. Let's see. The curses if you don't keep the contract. All right. Deuteronomy 28:16. Now, if you don't keep the contract, here's one of the curses. Remember, he says, blessed you will be in the city and blessed you will be in the field. But if you don't keep the contract, cursed shall thou be in the city. Cursed shall thou be in the field. Who are the people always in the cities, in the worst parts of the city? The ghettos, the hoods. That's these people right here in this picture. That's us. We always in the ghettos and the hoods. It says, cursed shall you be in the field. Look down here in this field. Even children out here in this field. Keep that in mind. Even little babies out here in this field picking cotton. Cursed in the city, you're going to have the worst parts of the city. You're going to be cursed in the field, to slave, to pick cotton, to do all this gruesome, hard, laborious work. Merriam-Webster definition of ghetto. A quarter of the city which Jews were formerly required to live. It's a quarter of the city where the Jews were. But wait, so the ghetto is where the Jews live, but who are the only people you've ever seen in the ghetto? Who are the only people you've ever seen in the ghetto? It's us. Now it says formerly required, 2020, we got to clean things up. No, we're still there. That's what we're always found at. The majority of our people are still in the hood, still in the ghettos. It says a quarter of the city in which members of a minority group live, especially because of social, legal, or economic pressure. So this is where we're forced to live at. The curse says, if you don't keep my commandments, which we didn't do, we broke the contract. He says, curse shall thou be in the city. Curse shall thou be in the field. We can clearly look at the history of our people. In every city we in, we're cursed. We're in the ghettos, hoods, we're dying, killing each other, and we were in the fields cursed. Who else did that happen to? Who else in every city you go to? Do you see Chinese in every city you go to? The Arabs, the white Jewish people over there in the land right now, are they in all the ghettos and throughout the world? Every time you go to a ghetto, no matter what country, what city, who's there? It's black people. It's us. It's me. It's you. So this is a no-brainer. This is our history. Deuteronomy 28:30. Thou shalt betroth, which means marry, a wife, and another man shall lie with her. You're going to go get a wife, and another man going to lay down with your wife. And guess what? You ain't going to do nothing about it. Who history is that? We can look at it. They're right here on the screen. That's what we dealt with. Deuteronomy 28:33. The fruit, pay attention to this one, please. This one's key. This is going to keep coming up all the way to the end of the lesson, to the end of the presentation. Deuteronomy 28:33 says this: the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt only be oppressed and crushed always. So while you being oppressed and crushed somewhere, it's going to be another nation in your land eating up the fruit, living it up. There's going to be another nation. This was a curse. If we chose not to keep up with the contract we made with the Most High God, he says, I'm going to kick you out your land. It's going to be another people in your land while you being oppressed and crushed. Revelation 2:9. And when you read your Bible, these words are in red. It says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. Our people say we African American, Jamaican, Haitian, whatever, Bahamian. We claim everything but to be the children of God. But Christ says in Revelation, I know the blasphemy. What is blasphemy? It's a nasty, disgusting lie. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. We look at Deuteronomy 28 and 33. That is the curse. That is the prophetic curse that was to happen if we didn't keep the commandment, that we will be oppressed and crushed somewhere while another nation is in our lands. And we look at the fulfillment of Revelation, that where Christ says, I know them. They saying they're you. They saying they Jews, but they are not. Again, do you believe the Bible? Deuteronomy 28 and 41. It says, thou shalt begat sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Look at this baby out here picking cotton. If you're old enough to walk and learn how to pick a piece of cotton, guess what you was going to do in captivity? You was going to pick a piece of cotton. Look at that gigantic sack this baby got. Our babies, our children had to fill sacks as well. Can you imagine your child out there? Our ancestors had no choice. Can you imagine the pain they had to deal with to look at their children out here picking cotton? Right? But guess what? This is one of the curses. Who else had their children taken from them and sold into slavery, sold into captivity? Who else has this history? Who else has this history? Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore, now mind you, now these are all the curses if we did not keep the commandments. These are all the curses. Matter of fact, let me rephrase that. These are not all the curses. These are just some of the curses. I'm just pointing out certain ones. These are some of the curses. Some of the ones that's going to catch your attention. Therefore, shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. Who's sending these enemies against us? It says the Lord shall send against thee. Do you believe the Bible? It didn't say the devil. The devil do everything. No. It says the Lord. If you read Deuteronomy 32 and 39, what does it say? I am the Lord. I kill, I wound, I heal, and there is none who can deliver you out of my hand. It's the Most High that does these things. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. Why? Because you broke the contract. You didn't keep his commandments. In hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he who, the enemy that the Lord sends against you, shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck. Look at this picture. That is not a painting. That is not a painting. What is on his neck verbatim? That is a yoke of iron. Go Google it. It's going to pop up a yoke of iron, but it's on the neck of a black man. But yet it was promised to be on the neck of an Israelite. 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4. Now it says you should serve your enemies in what? In hunger and in thirst and nakedness and want of all things. When you want to go get something to drink, you want to buy some Dasani, or you want to get some water out your faucet. Who are you paying for that? You ain't paying your brother. You ain't paying your brother. You paying the same man who put the yoke of iron on your neck. We don't own none of this stuff. In nakedness and clothing. We want some clothes, who we got to go to. Even if you go to a black-owned clothing designer, guess where he got to get his clothing and his material from? 2 + 2 = 4. In one of all things. We're going to serve our enemies in one of all things. Name one thing that you can go purchase right now that you can purchase from your brother. Show me the brother that you could purchase it from, and I'm going to show you the white man that he had to purchase it from. In one of all things. There's nothing that we can get right now that we do not have to go to the same people who put the yoke of iron on our neck. Brother, you teaching racism? No, I'm not. I'm teaching history. I'm teaching black history. Deuteronomy 28, 49 through 50. The Lord, not the devil, not Satan, not Lucifer. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Coincidental, I guess, right? A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Because when we get ahead, you're going to hear when I read when the Portuguese and the British and everything, when they came to the coast of Africa, guess what they had to bring? interpreters. It says, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not, pay attention to this part, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Even your young ain't gonna be safe. The young children won't be safe. Right? That's a baby. That's a little baby picking cotton. That's Tamir Rice, a young child. The prophecy says the nation that comes like an eagle, which shall not, that nation shall not regard our old people nor show favor to our young people. What are we going through? This is Black history. All right. Deuteronomy 28 and 54. Now, pay attention to this real quick. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. Tell me, what other people on the planet are the people in Israel right now, the white people in Israel right now, do they do this towards their brothers? Do those people fight? Now, I do understand that there is white on white crime, Asian on Asian crime, and things of that nature, but there is no level of crime that matches the crime of black on black crime. The stupidity of it. Oh, you wearing blue, or you wearing red. Boom, 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 boom. I want them Jordans. Bang, bang, bang. Well, I live on 15th Street. Well, I live on 8th Street. Bang, bang, bang. We find a reason to kill each other over anything. The dumbest of things. I want them rims. They ain't but $1,000, but hey, your life ain't worth that much. Bang, bang, bang. It says his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. If you thought black on black crime was just a coincidence, no, it is a curse that was from the Most High God because we did not keep his commandments. When we look at our brother, it's already evil towards one another. It goes on and says, is to say, and his eyes shall be evil towards the wife of what? His bosom. What nation of people? You can't look at country music. You won't look at no music in China. You don't listen to rock and roll. None of those people, other nations, none of them talk about their women, bitches and hoes, say it so much, drill it so much into the woman's head to the woman themselves start calling themselves bitches and hoes. Nobody, no other nation besides us do that. We have done that to our women. Beat the hell out of our women. Do all type of stuff to our women. But that's a curse. Because it says his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. We black on black crime kill each other all the time for stupid stuff. You stepped on I literally know a young boy who got killed for stepping on somebody's Jordans. Just for simply having an accident, accidentally stepping on somebody's Jordans. Lost his life. It says his eyes shall be evil towards his brother and toward the wife of his bosom. Goes on to say, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Show me another nation on the planet that leave their children fatherless like the black man in America. Show me that. But I'll show you, because here's the statistics right here. The red, these are white children. The blue, these are black children. The green, these are Hispanic children. Look how in the year 1960, all the way up to 2010, look at the statistics, how we towered over any other nation. There is no other comparison. Half of the families in our community have no fathers. Y'all thought these brothers were deadbeat bums for no reason, or it was a coincidence? No, it was a curse. This is written. This is our history. But do you believe the Bible, though? Do you believe the Bible? Deuteronomy 28 and 61. It says, also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. Every sickness that is not in this book, I'm going to bring upon you until you be destroyed. So you thought it was a coincidence that HIV, what's the other when you got the dialysis, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. Oh, you thought all that was a coincidence that we lead in almost every category of disease? It's no coincidence that we lead in almost every category of disease. This was cursed upon us. Why? Because we did not keep the Most High's commandments. He says clearly, also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will I bring upon thee. So wait. So, I mean, white people can eat pork and all that stuff, and they don't get heart disease and high blood pressure and the rest of that stuff. As soon as I eat it, oh my God, why? Because it was the law, the commandment was given to you not to eat it. And the curse was placed on you, not them. Somebody gonna say, "Oh, that ain't right." Well, that's what the Bible said. And if it wouldn't take me to veering outside of what I'm talking about right now, we'll actually go into it. We lead in everything. Statistically, we're almost either we're at the top or we're near the top of all of these different type of diseases, and we thought this was just a coincidence. It's not a coincidence; it's a curse. Deuteronomy 28:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt, which is slavery, again with ships. Now you might say, well, how do you know Egypt is slavery? Because it's synonymous for slavery. And we're going to show a few things in this verse alone. I know most brothers will show you Deuteronomy 20:2, for example, when it says, I should bring you into Egypt, which is the house of bondage. Yes, many times when the scripture says Egypt, it literally says verbatim, the house of bondage, which means slavery. It calls Egypt the house of bondage over and over and over again, tons of times in the scriptures. That's easy. But we can show it right here in this verse. And the Lord shall bring thee. This is one of the curses, the main curse, because what other people has ever gone into slavery on ships? Right here, the Lord says he will bring us into Egypt, which is slavery, again with ships. Here's the thing. People like to say, oh, no, well, you kind of pull it out of context. Listen, it says with ships, S-H-I-P-S. Egypt and Israel is connected like Florida and Georgia. I don't have to take a ship from Georgia to Florida, like from Texas to Mexico. I ain't got to take a ship from Texas to Mexico. We can literally walk across the border. We walked across the border out of Egypt into Israel. Why we got to take a ship back into Egypt? That don't even make sense. Why? Because when you look it up, Egypt actually says it means what? Slavery. He wasn't talking about going back into the literal land of Egypt. He was saying, I'm going to bring you back into slavery again with what? This time you're going in ships. And if you look up human history, there's been no other people that's ever gone into slavery on ships besides us. We are the only people in human history to go into slavery on ships. That's us. It goes on to say, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. By the way that I'm talking about, that you're going into slavery, you will never see it again. So when you get on that boat and you sail across the Atlantic Ocean, how many of you have ever sailed back the other way? Almost none of you. Because he says the way that you go into slavery, you ain't going to see it no more. You ain't going to see that way no more. You're not coming back. At least not for a real long time. You ain't going to see it again. This is one of the curses. It goes on to say, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen. Where I send you into slavery, into Egypt, that place of bondage. When you get there, you're going to be sold as slaves. You're going to be sold as slaves. And it goes on to say, and no man shall redeem you or buy you. When you look the word up, it means redeem. Redeem means to come and get you out of that situation, to rescue you from that. He says, no. Nobody's going to come and do that. Marcus Garvey tried, but the FBI tackled him. They got rid of him. MLK tried. It was a failed attempt. Malcolm X tried. They knocked him off. Everybody who came and said, hey, I'm gonna be the leader of the black man. I'm gonna get you out of this predicament. They all failed. Why? Because the scripture says no man should do it. What does Deuteronomy 32 and 39 says? I am the Lord. I kill, I wound, I heal. No man can pull you out of my hand. So if I want to curse you, there's not a man on the planet who can stop it. And guess what Deuteronomy 28 and 68 is? The curse of going into slavery on ships. It is a curse. It's a curse. But yet, Do you believe scripture? Now you might say, man, you pulling this out of context. You twisting this. But yet, hold on. We've gone through very, very, very basic scripture starting off, showing that the Jews or the Israelites were black people. Very basic scripture, plain. There was no interpretation needed. We just simply read it. It said they were black. Point blank. We looked at historians and theologians and scholars as far back as 56 AD, as recent as modern day. And they were all saying what? The same thing. The Jews were black people. We actually saw video evidence where the Jewish rabbis, men living in Israel, Jewish leaders are saying, yeah, black people like you guys are the real Jews. They're literally telling us this. All it takes is a YouTube search. You'll find tons of videos where just white people, all Palestinians, everybody's telling you, yeah, you're the real Jew. Oh, you didn't know? No, we didn't. We're the only ones who didn't know. And when you tell your own people, they're the only ones, the main ones that's going to reject it. Deuteronomy 28:45 through 46, it says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed. Why? Because thou hearkenest not or didn't listen unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments. So since you didn't listen, all the curses I just read off to you, that's the stuff that's going to happen to you. You want to break my contract? See, the Most High ain't Joe Blow from down the street. He ain't JoJo. You break the Most High's contract, he dealt with you. And what we just read, what we just read was our people getting dealt with. That was Black history. We can walk it down. Everything that we read, we can look at in our history. We suffered those things. You are hard pressed, and you cannot find another nation of people to suffer all of those curses. That wasn't even all of them. The ones that we showed. You cannot find another nation of people who went through those things. The people over in Israel right now, show me in human history, from the time of Adam up until 2020, show me where they went in slavery on ships. Do any of the curses that were supposed to befall the children of Israel fit these people? Not a one. Not one of them. They didn't go into slavery on ships. They weren't sold as slaves. They weren't sold as bondmen and bondwomen. Those people don't look at their own people. They actually bond together very tightly. They don't look at their own brothers and have hatred in their hearts and start shooting each other and killing each other over stupid reasons. They don't make their women or call their women bitches and hoes and make their women feel like bitches and hoes. Excuse my language. They don't leave their children fatherless. They don't fit those curses. They're not in all the ghettos all around the world. We are. They weren't never cursed in the field to be slaves, but we were. Deuteronomy 28:46, it says, and they, which is the curses, shall be upon thee, gonna be upon you, for a sign and for a wonder, and upon your seed. For how long? Forever. Forever. Merriam-Webster, pay attention to this. Merriam-Webster definitions for sign is this: a display, such as a letterboard or a configuration of neotubing. What is it used for? It's used to identify. In all caps, bold. A sign is used to identify. Do you believe the Bible? Because the Bible in Deuteronomy 28:46 says the curses shall be used to identify the children of Israel. They shall be upon you for a sign. What is a sign? Something used to identify. It's going to be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed. What's going to be upon us? These curses. So how can you tell who the people of Israel are today? They would have had to suffer the curses according to the Bible. They got to suffer the curses according to the Bible. If they're not suffering the curses, could they be Israel? Because we all know, whether you agree or disagree of who the people of the book are, we all know that Israel didn't keep the laws of God. We kept rejecting it. So that's something everybody can agree on across the board. I don't care if you're a Muslim, a Christian, or whatever you are. Everybody agrees and knows that for a fact. So if you didn't keep the commandments of God, then they were supposed to befall these curses. Did that happen to these people we're looking at on the screen? Emphatically, no. Now, Again, I'm gonna beat the dead horse. Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe what Christ said? Because Christ, approximately 70 years before it happened, Christ prophesied about the Roman invasion against the southern kingdom of Judah. Christ told the disciples, he said, look, when you see the Romans come on up in here and circle this thing, run. It's finna get real ugly. It's finna get real bad. Luke 24:21. This is Christ talking. He's talking to the disciples. And they, the Israelites slash the Jews, they shall fall by the edge of the sword. And here's the key point. And shall be led away captive into all nations. You have to show me where these people right here went captive into all nations. Because if the word of Christ, who is the word of God, if it's true, it cannot come back void. We must identify where the men over in Israel right now went captive into all nations. So if they haven't gone captive into all nations, we already got a problem. So something has to give. Either they've already gone captive into all nations, so we should be able to identify this in human history somewhere, or if they haven't, then hey, at some point, I don't know, 2025, 2030, some point soon, or at some point, guess what? They have to go into captivity into all nations. Either they already did or they're on their way. Something has to give. Why? Because the word of God will not come back void. It says they, which is talking about the Jews, shall be led away captive into all nations. But we know this is a past prophecy because this happened actually in 70 AD. This already took place, but yet they still can't show you where they went captive into all nations. Now get this. It says, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Let me find something real quick. Where is that? Where is that one? Hold on. Nope. I want to find it. I want to find it because I know I need to point that out. Because Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Deuteronomy 28:33. Remember this. The fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which you don't know gonna come and eat up. It's gonna be another people in your land. But where you gonna be at? You're gonna be somewhere being oppressed and crushed. I don't know. I don't know, somewhere maybe like America picking cotton. You might be in America picking cotton, I don't know, but you're going to be somewhere being oppressed and crushed, and another nation's going to move in on your territory. Let's go back. Let's go back. So Christ prophesied this in Luke 24:21. He says, and they, the Jews, shall be fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. This happened in 70 AD, and we still don't see any evidence of this happening to the people in Israel. So either the Bible's lying or the Bible's lying and they telling the truth, or they're lying and God is telling the truth. It goes on to say, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So when the Jews get taken out of the land and they go into slavery into all nations, Gentiles are going to move into the land. Trodden down means trampled upon or walked upon, which means Gentiles are going to be in the land, walking around, living like they live there. So if you believe, do you believe the Bible? Do you believe Christ? Jews getting kicked out, going into slavery into all nations, other nations, Gentiles move in, and they're going to be walking around on the land like it's theirs. Do you believe the Bible? From Babylon to Timbuktu. This is From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph R. Windsor. It says, in 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey, which is a Roman general, captured Jerusalem. All right. In 70 AD, General Vespasian, which is another Roman general, and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state, which means they came and destroyed us. They just destroyed it with a great slaughter. Many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people, against the residue of the Jews. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution. And it says the slave markets, the transatlantic slave trade, were full of black Jewish slaves. So if you ever wonder, like, well, Well, if we are Jews, then what the hell are we doing in Africa? Ding, ding, ding. Here you go. We was running from the Romans when they invaded in 70 AD. Because remember, what did Christ say? He says, and they shall be led. If you go back and read Luke 24, the entire prophecy is there. He says, when you see the armies surround Jerusalem, which is the Roman armies, this actually happened. If you don't believe the Bible, you can look it up. Go to your local library and look up the history. 70 AD, the Roman army literally surrounded Jerusalem. And at that point, they start attacking, killing, and just slaughtering our people. And over 1 million Jews ran out and ran into Africa. It's easy history. And here we have it written about in this book called From Babylon to Timbuktu. So if you want to know, well, okay, well, how do we get picked up out of Africa? Well, this is how it is. We ran over there. Again, let's not forget about these devils. Let's not forget about them. So this right here must be real important to Christ, because he said it once in Revelation 2:9. Now we at Revelation 3:9. He says what? Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Christ said again, they say they Jews, but they not. They lying. And I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So let's not forget about them, because what you're about to find out is they played a major, major, major role in the slave trade of our ancestors. All right. So which people fulfilled the scriptures? Let's be real. Do you believe the Bible? Come on now. Do you believe the Bible? The so-called African American, or the Jews, they call us African American. Who fulfilled these things? Went into slavery on ships, Deuteronomy 28 and 68. That was us. There's no other people's ever going into slavery on ships. Went into worldwide captivity. Christ prophesied that, Luke 24 and 21. You should be led captive into all nations. You can't find them going into captive into all nations nowhere in human history. But you see us all over the world going into captivity. Fits the biblical description of the children of Israel. There's multiple scriptures on that. Job 30 and 30. We saw one in Acts talking about Paul. We look at Numbers 12 and 10. We looked at Jeremiah 14 and 2. We looked at Lamentations 4 and 8. Plenty of scriptures describing that the Jews, and literally calling them black. Song of Solomon 1 and 5 literally said black. The Jews are black. We fit the biblical description. And the only people on the entire planet to lose their identity. If you read Jeremiah 17 and 4, it was prophesied that Israel, or the Jews, were going to lose their identity or lose their heritage. What is a heritage? It's your identity. It's your customs, your holy days, your language, everything that you know about, your customs, your traditions. It said the Jews were going to lose it. Now, do you find it to be a coincidence? Right now, 2020, there's only one people on the face of the earth that have no heritage of their own. Ask a Chinese man, hey, where you from? Where your people from? China. Ask a Russian man, hey, where your people from? Russia. Ask a Canadian, where your people from? Canada. Ask a Japanese, where your people from? Japan. Ask a black man, an African American, where you from? I don't know. Africa. But that's a continent. See how we can link everybody else to a country or a nation? We're the only people that can't do that. The closest we can get is Africa, which is a continent with a lot of countries inside of it, right? That's the closest we can get. We've asked people this, and they've said, "Hey, man, what's your nationality? Where you from?" "Oh, I'm Christian." Man, that is a religion. That ain't no nationality. "What's your nationality?" "I'm black." That is a color. We asking your nationality, what land you from, what nation you from. You talking about your religion, a color. Some people are, I'm an Asiatic black man. You're going to get all different types of answers. Now, granted, there are exceptions to the rule, because in all the people on the planet, everybody knows where they're from, knows their lineage. But there are a select few people of those people who might say, I don't know. So there are exceptions to the rule. But here's the kicker. With us, it's flip-flop. The majority of us don't know where we're from. But then if you ask us, a few of us, we might know. We are the exception to the rule. So we fulfill all of these scriptures. The fake Jews that are in the land right now, how many scriptures can we find that they fulfill? Trust me, we have debates and discussions with these guys all the time. They can never answer these questions. You will literally be hard pressed to find these people have fulfilled any of the scriptures you claim, but you claim you so wholeheartedly believe in. You believe in the scriptures. I believe the Bible, but yet when we read the Bible, it literally testifies against them and testifies for you, but yet you just can't accept it. You still believe they're the children of Israel, although the Bible says the children of Israel, I mean, clearly it says that they're black people. We went through this whole ordeal and we're showing you that clearly that the Bible, history, you know, everything's saying that the Jews are black people, but you still believe the white people are the real Jews. It's amazing. Remember, stupidity is not knowing. It's not knowing. That's called ignorance. We were all ignorant. Then we wake up and find out truth and find out, oh, like, wow, I didn't know that. So now we go with the truth. So stupidity is not knowing. Stupidity is not knowing, then seeing the truth, but yet still choose to believe a lie. At that point, you become stupid. Most people have no clue what the European competition is. Most people have absolutely no clue. They think that the European countries just came over to Africa, found some niggas swinging on trees, threw them on a boat, set them onto another land, and sold them as a slave. That's not what happened. This was actually a very, very organized effort, and there was a competition between countries. That's why it's deemed the European competition. The European competition was a competition between European powers to dominate the African slave trade. The Portuguese were the first to introduce the slave trade and dominate the trade for 2 centuries. The Dutch succeeded the domination in the 17th century to be replaced by the Brits, which is Britain, and by the French. They both battled for dominance. European powers contracted with ports of Africa on the African coast and shipped slaves to be used for trading and as for labor forces in their colonies. So this thing was going on for a while, and it was different European countries. They were all involved in it. So before we get more into the European competition, this right here is called the Emanuel Bowen's map. Emanuel Bowen, B-O-W-E-N, Emanuel Bowen. You can find this map. It's a very, very old map of the 1700s. You find this map. The crazy thing on this map is, remember we read from what it said from Babylon to Timbuktu? Remember what it said? Let me go back and find that real quick. 61. Okay. It says during the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. All right. 1 million Jews fled into Africa, migrated all the way over to the west coast of Africa. But when you look at this map, it's funny that when you look on here, you see right here, it says the kingdom of Judah. I mean, what's some damn Africans doing with a kingdom called Judah? Why is there a kingdom of Judah in Africa? Because we migrated into Africa. We ran from the Romans. Just like what happened with Syria, about 5 or maybe 10 years ago, in that whole period when they was fleeing out of the country and running to other countries. That's been going on for thousands of years. When war break out, people run. And we ran. It was no different. We went into Africa. This has been proven factually. We went into Africa. Look on the map. It says the kingdom of Judah. Who is Judah? That's the Jews. We set up in Africa. We actually did pretty good in Africa. The Africans ain't like that. How dare these Negroes come to our land and start doing good? So you know what? The African tribes start warring against the tribes of the Jews. What else did they do? They make contracts with the Europeans to sell us to who? The Europeans. So we thinking like, oh, this is all just a coincidence. No, not so much. All right, so the Emanuel Bowen's map. But, you know, brothers start waking up. People start realizing the history. People start seeing what the truth is. Guess what they do? They change the map. They get rid of that map. But this was a real map before we came to our census. The Emanuel Bowen's map. You can Google it and download it. All right. the slave trade. It says Portugal was the first to initiate trading in slaves. In search for spices, gold, and silver, Prince Henry, the navigator, ordered expeditions across the Atlantic, where he came to discover the African continent. The first slaves were brought to Portugal in 1441. The slaves were captured through direct raids, which included kidnapping and banditry. Since the Portuguese believed that such process was inefficient, as they had to face African military retaliation, they decided to establish commercial relations with the leaders of the African tribes in exchange for European goods. The tribal leaders provided the Portuguese with slaves in exchange for European goods. I mean, they traded us. I mean, they didn't even buy us. Like, I ain't worth $1 million. Like, they didn't even buy us. Them MFers traded us for some hot dogs, man. They didn't even buy us. We were being traded for goods. That's how they valued us. Trading us for a damn bologna sandwich. What's wrong with these Negroes? The triangular trade. All right, this is from Britannica. It says, now pay attention to this. Pay attention to this, all right? You got to understand that we were traded. We were sold too. Now, we were sold. There was money involved, but we were traded a lot as well. That's key to remember. The Britannica says, it was the second of 3 stages of the so-called triangular trade, in which arms, textiles, and wine were shipped from Europe to Africa, slaves from Africa to the Americas, and sugar and coffee from the Americas to Europe. So they was like, they'll pick up wine, ship it over to Europe, and take from Europe and go to Africa, and take some stuff from Africa and go to, it was a triangular trade. They was trading in triangle. Key word though in that, I want y'all to keep wine in your mind. Keep that in the back of your mind, because that was one of the things we were traded for, was wine. Keep that in your mind. The French are not innocent. They are definitely not innocent. It says France largely benefited from the triangular trade, which began with French ships carrying supplies of European goods headed to West Africa. All right. The goods were traded for slaves. So the goods that they had, they traded for slaves. Okay. To be sent to the New World through the Middle Passage from Africa. The slaves were then sold to colonies in the New World for sugar, rum, keyword rum, and tobacco. The loaded ships would finally return to the ports in France. Wine and rum, keep that in mind. While this trading going on, wine and rum was very key in us being traded and sold and all this good stuff. Keep that in mind. It says the Africans, who were they really selling? Now I'm telling you how to keep these things in mind, because it's going to come back up. Now, who were the Africans really selling? Were they really selling other Africans? Were they really that dumb to sell their own people, to weaken their own nation just to be invaded by everybody? No, I don't think they were that dumb. They weren't selling Africans. They were selling black Jews that we have clearly proved that were black at this point. It says the commercial relationship during the Atlantic trade slave was more shifted in favor of the Africans, as they believed from having the upper hand in controlling the trade system. The Europeans had to conform and follow the Africans' trade restrictions and strict policies in order to trade with them. Furthermore, they had to rely on local Africans to aid their trade activities, as these Africans served as interpreters during the trade. Remember, he says that the curse was, I'm gonna send a nation whose language you know not. It says the Africans served as interpreters during the trade. The Europeans' dependence on them allowed the Africans to enjoy a higher position in controlling this trade. Firstly, the Europeans were expected to follow and obey the set of regulations that is proposed by the African traders. And RAC, Royal African Company, told its employer in 1705 that trade at the African coast required to maintain the same good sense, the same usage and causation that is needed for the trade in Europe, meaning that the Europeans are to respect and accept the rules and regulations set by the Africans. So the Africans, when they were in control of everything, the Europeans ain't want no beef with the Africans, because they don't have to fight them to try and get slaves. So they made treaties with them and trades with them, and they had the answer to the Africans. So the Africans, they were in charge of all this. They sold us. Now they got African countries saying, hey, come back, come back, come back. We'll give you so much money to move back to Africa. Man, hell no. You sold me the first time. You can get me over there and sell me again. Hell wrong with you. Trade for sex. Trade for sex. Transatlantic slavery was a centuries-long international trade in people and their labor, spanning from the early 1500s to the 1880s. Since the end of the transatlantic slavery in 1888, remember this now, nation states and international institutions have legally recognized and been committed to protecting the fundamental rights of human beings. In light of these promised protections, resurgence in the enslavement of human beings would seem impossible. Sexual abuse, harassment, and prostitution, as well as enforced pregnancy, were a commonplace for women living under slavery. Soldiers on slave ships, as well as slavers and other men working in the slave trade, would routinely enslave women and girls. Then, as today, sexual violence was used as a weapon of terror to dehumanize the women and to humiliate their husbands, brothers, and sons, who were reminded of how impossible it was to prevent such debasement. Remember what the curse said? You should take a wife, and another man should lie with her. You ain't gonna be able to do nothing about it. In North America, there were a fancy girl trade. There was a fancy girl trade in which young and usually light-skinned black women were sold into prostitution at rates to 4 to 5 times the price of women in the labors, in the field of labors. Now, when we look at it, we had being traded for sex. They was just taking on women. They're not writing about it in this particular thing here, but our young boys were traded for sex as well, because it was definitely some pedophilia faggots back there. Excuse my language. That is the history, unfortunately. So we're traded for wine and all these things, right? There was a lot going on. Now, remember, this is what happened during the transatlantic slave trade. Keep that in your mind. Being traded for drink, sex, being raped. All this happened during when? The transatlantic slave trade. Who came over on boats in transatlantic slave trade? That was us. That was us, right? We've already seen 2 prophecy fulfillments in this history right here. One was the fact that another man would lie with your wife, and there'd be nothing you could do about it. So we see that happened. That's our history. Remember, that was one of the curses that was supposed to be on Israel, right? That was one of the curses on Israel. But let's keep going. Remember the drink and the trading for sex. For behold, in those days and at that time, when I shall bring again in captivity Judah and Jerusalem, the Jews, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there. Why? Why is he going to plead with them? For my people and for my heritage, Israel now, whom they have scattered among the nations. Who was scattered among the nations? Are the white people in Israel scattered among the nations, or were we scattered among every nation? Because we went into slavery and we're every nation. Now, if you don't know the history, that was a transatlantic slave trade that took us all into the North Americas and Europe. And there was also a sub-Saharan slave trade that took us into what we call the Middle East and all those countries. We went all over the world, scattered into every nation. So he says, for my people, my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Get this. And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot, sex, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Whose history is that? Show me one of the curly head Jewish cats over there right now that got sold for some wine and some sex, or traded for some wine and some sex. I don't see it in their history. I don't see it in their history. Whose history are we reading? Because he said, look right here. It clearly says Israel. Come on now. If you ain't got it by now, just go ahead and turn the video off. Joel 3 and 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. Who are the Grecians? Those are white people. I'm just, somebody be like, oh, I keep saying white people. Yeah, that's what they are. That's white people. It says the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold to the Grecians. Why though? Why did they sell us to the Grecians? Why were we sold to the white people? Why were we sold? Why? To remove them far from their border. The purpose was to remove us far from our borders. They wanted us out of the way. They wanted us out of the way. This was strategic. This was strategic. Remember in Psalms, I think it's 83, where all the nations came together and say, listen, let's move them out of the way so that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. They planned and they strategized according to scripture to get us out of the way so they can erase our name from being in existence. So why? So we could think we Africans or African Americans or Afro-Americans or niggas or coons or Jamaicans or Haitians. This is what they wanted us to think. Why? So that their name could be no more in existence. And then we're going to move a people into their land and say that those are the real people. They removed us far from our borders. This was strategic, but it was also a curse. Deuteronomy 28:33. Remember, the fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. Thou gonna only be oppressed and crushed always. You gonna be somewhere being oppressed and crushed, and another nation gonna be in your land, living it up. Why? Because you did not hearken to keep the commandments of the Lord thy God. Listen, a lot of people don't know this. Some do. But these guys right here, who y'all call the Jewish or the real Jews, who y'all think are the real Jews, they sold you, they owned you, they financed your slave trade. They sold you, they owned you, and they financed your slave trade. How can they be the people of the curse when they're actually the ones enslaving you? If they were actually the people of the book serving the curses, they were supposed to be enslaved according to Christ. In Luke 24:21, they were supposed to go into captivity into all nations. According to Deuteronomy 28:68, they were supposed to go into slavery on ships. That didn't happen to them. It happened to us. Let's get it. All right. So how did the Jewish people participate in the genocide of blacks? How did they participate? What did they do? Do we have any evidence of it? Is there anything around that we can get a resource to say, yeah, they participated? In 1992, Dr. Abram J. Peck of the American Jewish Archives, this is what he stated. The first 2 centuries of Black-Jewish encounter in America were highlighted by a fairly extensive record of Jewish slave holding. Indeed, during the colonial period, in the small Jewish community of the time, almost every Jewish household of any form, North or South, possessed at least one slave. Beside their important position in the sugar industry and in the tax farming, they dominated the slave trade. The Jewish, they dominated the slave trade. The buyers who appeared at the auctions were almost always Jews. And because of the lack of competitors, they could buy slaves at low prices. This was strategic. It was moving you away from your borders. They was selling you into slavery. The Jewish historian, Dr. Harold Brackman of the Westernthal Center, he stated that during the 1600s, slave trading in Brazil became a Jewish mercantile specialty in much the same way it had been in early medieval Europe. He also wrote that the Jews were about twice as likely to be a slave owner as the average white Southerner. Well, lo and behold, look at here. This is straight from the Jewish Encyclopedia itself. What does this say? The Jewish commercial activity in this time included a monopoly of the slave trade. Let me read that again. The Jewish commercial activity in this time included a monopoly of the slave trade. Rabbi and historian, so this is a rabbi and a historian, Dr. Bertram W. Korn wrote this. it would seem to be realistic to conclude it would seem to be realistic to conclude that any Jew who could afford to own slaves and had a need for slaves to do their service would do so. Jews participated in every aspect and process of exploitation of the defenseless blacks. This is coming from a Jew himself. So when they say, "Oh no, man, y'all just reaching for identity," no, I'm showing you almost 90% or 95% of everything I showed you have come from white people or Jews, which are pretty much the same thing, or those who call themselves Jews, right? This ain't coming from us. Like, I got plenty more sources I could bring for some brothers, some brews who we know that we're the real people, but then y'all will say that's biased. So therefore I went completely unbiased just to show that we have a bunch of sources. Even their own lips, their own mouth is testifying that we are the actual people of the book. Let's keep going. In his 1983 book, Jews and Judaism in the United States, Rabbi Dr. Mark Lee Raphael wrote this. So here's another Jew. Here's another Jewish guy. What did he say? And he's a rabbi at that. He's another Jewish guy. In all the American colonies, whether French, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Rabbi Raphael continued. This was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participated in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to the West Indies and there exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum. In exchange, they go to rum again for sale in Africa. Isaac da Costa of Charleston in the 1750s, David Franks of Philadelphia in the 1760s, and Aaron Lopez of Newport in the late 1760s and early 1770s dominated the Jewish slave trading on the American continent. He just named all the Jewish guys who was dominating the slave trade. This is stated by a Jewish guy himself. They are letting you know out of their own mouths that what? We participated in selling you Negroes. The Jewish Encyclopedia, yet again. The cotton plantations, and if you go to the Jewish Encyclopedia, you're going to find this information. Mind you, I didn't type any of it. I ain't type any of this. This is all copy and paste. These are not my words. I'm reading the words of the people themselves. But you know, they say if you want to hide something from a black man, where do you put it? In the book. Well, I took it out the book and put it on the damn PowerPoint, so pay attention. The Jewish Encyclopedia. The cotton plantations in many parts of the South were wholly in the hands of the Jews, and as a consequence, slavery found its advocates among them. Who? The Jewish. Dr. Seymour B. Leidman. This is what he said. Catch this one now. They came with ships carrying African blacks to be sold. Now we know they weren't Africans. These was the true Jews. They came with ships carrying African blacks to be sold as slaves. The traffic in slaves was a royal monopoly, and the Jews were often appointed as agents for the crown in their sale. They were the largest ship chandlers. The Jews were the largest ship chandlers in the entire Caribbean region. It says where the shipping business was mainly a Jewish enterprise. The ships were not only owned by Jews, but were manned by Jewish crews and sailed under the command of Jewish captains. So they didn't just buy you and sell you. They owned you. They owned the ships. They manned the ships. They were the captain of the ships. Joel 3:6 says, why they did this? So they can remove us far from our borders. Because it's just a coincidence as soon as they get us out of our borders. In 1948, guess who the hell moved in? The same white boys who sold you over here in Africa. I mean, over in America. Who got you from Africa and brought you. They was getting you far, far away. Because guess what? The west coast of Africa still ain't that far from Israel. You still could have migrated back. But you know what they did? They removed us all the way out of the way. Put us in slavery in a whole nother land. Why? So in 1948, they were able to move in. They removed us far from our borders. Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe history? Dr. Herbert I. Bloom says the Christian inhabitants of Brazil were envious because the Jews owned some of the best plantations in the river valley of, how do I say this word? Pernambuco, and were among the leading slave holders and slave traders in the colony. Slave trade was one of the most important Jewish activities. It says here and elsewhere in the colonies, during slavery, Jews were slave masters, slave traders, merchants, peddlers, and statesmen. In general, Jews were everything in the Old South except for I tongue tie every time I get to this word. Abolitionist. So they were everything except they want to do everything with slavery except for stop it. Hey man, do this, do this, do that. Wait. Don't end it though. Do anything we need to do, but don't cut it off. Who are these people? These are the Jewish cats that you think are the children of Israel. Says these are the action of the people you call the Jews. This who did this, right? It says the official estimate by the UN says that 17 million blacks died in the slave trade. An American historian named David Stannard wrote in his book, American Holocaust, because that's exactly what it was a Holocaust. He wrote that between 30 and 60 million Africans died during the slavery. And we know these weren't Africans, these were the real Jews. The free labor by Africans are estimated to be ranging at $14 trillion. Here's the thing. The United Nations want to say 17 million, right? Well, this guy was a little bit more honest. He said between 30 and 60 million, but even that's not accurate. We can show, improve, and count up to 100 million. So they talking about, oh, well, the Jewish had a Holocaust. It was 6 million. Wasn't even 6 million people in the area at the time. But okay, let's just roll with 6 million. And we ain't even got to go to what the 100 million. Let's just roll with the 30 to 60 million that this man proved, that he talked about. So we're going to compare 6 million to 30 million or to 60 million. Are we serious? Are we serious? Now, if the Jewish are the real chosen people of the Most High, the so-called Holocaust should have been prophesied somewhere in Scripture. That's if you believe the Bible. I keep saying that because a lot of people, y'all don't believe the Bible. I believe it wholeheartedly. So when I see something like that, I'm searching the book to see if it's in there. I don't see it in there. But when I look at my history, I search the book and we can see it plain as day. Proverbs 29:2, it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, guess what? The people mourn. When we get back in authority, the world will rejoice. But when the wicked is ruling, people die. A lot of people die. Again, the Bible said this will happen to the children of Israel for disobeying. We read that. It said this will happen to the children of Israel for disobeying. Not this. Not this party going on to the right. The Most High said, if you don't listen, this is going to happen to you. Now, again, one last time. Why ain't you gonna say one last time? But again, if you don't believe the Bible and you believe what you've been, because most people don't believe the Bible, they really believe what they've been told about the Bible. They really believe, oh, God's all love. He's just beautiful. He's just, we talking about the same God. Again, who killed everybody on the planet except for 8 people? Oh, well, that's the Old Testament. Okay, well, cool. Let's go to the New Testament. We're talking about the same God that killed the man and his wife for simply lying. Acts 5. We know about that story. They told a lie, killed him. Wife came in, told a lie, killed her. We talking about the same God, right? Yeah, we talking about the same person. So when he says he's going to do something, remember, when he sends his word out, according to Scripture, it doesn't come back void. It doesn't come back void. No, not my God. We're talking about the same God who allowed his son to die on the cross, to be tortured. So what does that mean? Most High does what he will. Okay, I don't believe this happened. Well, we got history to say this happened. We got biblical scripture to say this happened. You know what I'm saying? This was going to happen to the real Jews. This was not going to happen to the Jews for disobeying. I don't know how we even believe that. But this is what we see happening with the Jewish all the time. Thank God for his son who came and died for our sins, because if not, man, we'll be in a horrible place, because the Most High wrath is serious, as we can see. It is a serious wrath. All praise be to the Most High for his son, Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ. Because if it had not been for him dying in our place and taking that punishment for us, we'd be in a world of trouble. All right, let's keep going. Almost done. So for the naysayers, Israel Hill. If you've never heard of Israel Hill, Israel Hill. Now, give you a quick history on it. It says after their freedom of almost 100 freed slaves, after their freedom, almost 100 freed slaves established a community in Farmville, Virginia, and named it Israel Hill. They always remembered who they were and did not allow anyone to tell them they were Africans. So if you don't know the backdrop, there's some slaves that were enslaved to, and when they got freed, they went up to this particular place in Virginia and they started a community. And they called it Israel Hill. Why? Because they knew they were the children of Israel. They didn't get brainwashed to the point, we just Africans. Yeah, time had passed. But somewhere along the line, parents were still, hey, listen, whispering in the slave house back there, listen, don't let them lie to you. You are the children of Israel. Do not let them lie to you. So we ain't just show up in the 60s because we're being oppressed saying, oh, well, we the children of Israel. We the Jews. This is, as I've showed you, we have went back as far as 56 AD showing facts of who the people of the book are and how they look and where they came from and where they went. And this place right here still exists to this very day, Israel Hill. It's in Farmville, Virginia. All right. Facts. This is history. These are historical facts. All right. First Baptist Church. First African Baptist Church. This is built by slaves in 1850, located in the historic district of Savannah, Georgia. That's right up here. Is recognized as one of the nation's oldest African Baptist churches. Although the church was not officially established until 1788, the original congregation of mostly enslaved individuals had been formed in 1773 by former slave George Lila, who was ordained in 1775. This church, so it's older than the country itself. Because what's the birthday of America supposedly? 1776. So. This is the old, very, very, very old church built by slaves. But here's the thing about it. You see this picture? It's a little blurred, but it's right there. Now, a lot of you may not know what this is, but that's called Hebrew cursive. These so-called slaves who are supposedly African slaves or African Americans, they went and carved their names in the pews of this church, First Baptist Church, and it still hits to this very day. But the crazy part is, the people carved their names in Hebrew. That's Hebrew cursive. They literally, why are Africans carving their name in Hebrew if they Africans? Makes zero sense. All right. We talk about the transatlantic slave trade. You got the European competition. We're showing you all these historical facts, everything that happened. If you're still sitting here, scratching your head saying, no, I don't, just go ahead and turn the video off. Just go ahead and turn the video off. We don't show you video evidence, pictorial evidence, testimonial, historical, scriptural. What else do you need? And then when somebody say, oh, well, nah, man, y'all just making this stuff up. How many? Go to court. Damn it, go to court. How many witnesses you need to convict? One. So let's say they had 2 or 3. You definitely going to judge at that point. Well, how many did I just show you? I showed you just a ton of witnesses just now. It's either you're going to believe it or you're not. Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe history? Do you believe the people around the world telling you you're the real people of the book? If you do, you have a duty. Ecclesiastes 12:13 says you got to fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. If you believe the Bible, fear God, keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. Why? Because not keeping his commandments is what got us in this predicament, in this place, getting off them ships in the first place. All right. With that, That is my last slide. I'm gonna stop sharing. I know it's a couple people watching right now as I record this. But with that, I don't know if y'all caught it from the beginning, but if you didn't, when I get this all processed up, rewind it and go back and catch it from the beginning, because there's some things you missed out on. There are definitely some things you missed out on. But what we got to do is keep the commandments, come back to the law, statutes, commandments. Why? Why is that even important? Let me read something real quick before I leave. Why is that even important? Let me read the book of Deuteronomy. All right, the 30th chapter. Because as soon as the Most High said, if you break my commandments, I'm going to send you into slavery, he also made a promise to bring us back out of it too, and bring us back to the land. Deuteronomy 30. It says, and it shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, the blessing and the curse. That's what we read. If you keep the commandments, if you break them, there's going to be blessings and cursings. It says, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among the nations, whether the Lord thy God have driven thee. So when you are in those nations, when you get scattered everywhere else, and you over there and you call back to your mind, hey man, I'm the real people of the book. It says, and you shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice and all that I command thee this day. So when you over there in other nations, like we are now, you think about, wait a minute, I got to start keeping it. I'm actually the real children of Israel. He gave us this law. We're supposed to keep it. We broke this law. That's why he kicked us out the land and did all these horrible things, because he said that's what he was going to do if we did not keep the commandments. So therefore, while I'm over here, I come back to my senses and say, okay, I need to keep the laws of the Most High. He says, when you do that, you and your children, he goes on to say this, that then, because the Christian church is going to tell you this, oh, Jesus can come at any time. Oh, he can come tomorrow. He can come next week. Shut up. No, that ain't what the Bible say. The Most High God says, because Christ himself says, no man knows that hour. Christ don't even know. But the Most High God himself, the highest, said this. When you come back and you start remembering that you are the children, because remember also in Ezekiel 37, it was prophesied in the last days, while we were in these foreign lands, we were going to wake up and remember who we were. Now we see prophecy being fulfilled that Israel is literally waking up to remember who we are. But yet it's a bunch of naysayers like, nah, you tripping. But anyway, the Bible says when that time comes and you remember who you are and you start coming back, keeping my law, statutes, commandments, like I said, like you were supposed to start with, you and your children, he says, then, not a day before, not a day after, but then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion on thee. Then I'll turn your captivity and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Lord thy God scattered you. So when you start keeping the laws and statutes and commandments, he says, then I'm coming to get you. But until then, you oppress in another land, and another nation is eating up your fruit. With that, any questions, you can email me at abaya@InsideNationRadio. If you got any other questions, if you got my phone number personally, whatever, or Facebook, you can call me on that as well. But with that, I'm going to say shalom, 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 Israel. Be blessed.